Good evening, everyone. Today we will see the pharmacotherapy of malaria, part 2 of the lecture. So, in previous lectures, we have studied the life cycle of the malarial parasite, then the different individual drugs which act on the different stages of the life cycle of the parasite, and various other factors which will help in curing the parasitical infection. So today we will see the different types of regimens and the drugs in the treatment. So we have seen various antimalarial drugs and the site where they act in the life cycle of the parasite, the resistance which they have developed and the toxicities they share. So the life cycle of the parasite is the pre-erythrocytic stage which takes place in human being. We are talking about the life cycle that takes place in human being, that is the asexual life cycle. So the one is the pre-erythrocytic stage, the other is the erythrocytic stage, that is when the parasite invades the RBC, then infect them, there they divide and multiply, mature into trophozoites and other that is parasitic gametes also. So the another stage is the hypnozoite and the gametes. So these are the stages of the life cycle and the parts of the parasite where the different drugs have their action. So now from this chart, looking overall we can see that the different drugs have the action on the different stages of the cycle. So here we can see none of the drug from the given list has its action on the pre-erythrocytic stage of the parasite. This is a drawback of the most of the antimalarial drugs. Now near about all the drugs like chloroquine, mefloquine, artemisinin derivatives, primaquine have their action on the erythrocytic stage, that is they are the blood schizonticides, and only one drug, that is primaquine, which has a very important action, that is it acts on the hypnozoite. So it will eradicate the parasite which are hibernating in the hepatic cells, and this is a important stage which will be responsible for the causation of the relapse in the Plasmodium vivax malariae, because of inadequate eradication of these parasite from the hepatic cells will lead to relapse. Now many of the drugs will have the gametocidal action like chloroquine, artemisinin, quinine, primaquine, proguanil have the gametocidal action, that is they will act on the male and female gametes which are there in the human blood, and this will prevent the further spread of the infection of the parasite from the one human being to the other human beings through the mosquito, as this parasite, that is parasitic gametes, will enter the Anopheles mosquito, and there they will undergo their sexual cycle which will mature into the male and female gametes and fertilize, and then they further will cause the spread of the disease when these mosquito bites to the normal individual. So the gametocidal action will be helpful to prevent this spread of the infection. So it is mefloquine, lumefantrine and sulfonamides, tetracyclines do not have the action on the gametes. Now the toxicity, which is a very important factor which is need to be kept in mind, is the one which is maximum with quinine, that is a drug which will show maximum toxicity, whereas the primaquine and mefloquine and other rest of the drugs will have some other toxicities, but the major part is shared by quinine. Now since past few years we have noted a resistance to various drugs, and because of the resistance to various drugs we have faced many problems in treating the malarial infection and preventing its spread. So the main thing to keep in mind is that artemisinin derivatives have shown no resistance to the parasite, that is parasite has shown no resistance to these drugs. So these are a very important class of drug and used as an important resort in cases of resistance noted with the parasite for other drugs. And rapid resistance was noted for purogonil and pyrimethamine drugs, whereas tetracyclines, lumefantrine and artemisinin derivatives have shown no resistance, and chloroquine has shown to develop resistance. So the parasites with that is the falciparum has the main thing, that is chloroquine resistant infection noted nowadays. Now treatment of malaria. So we have a complicated malaria, that is serious infection, and uncomplicated malaria. So firstly we will see the uncomplicated malarial infection with Plasmodium vivax and falciparum. So the infection with vivax and falciparum will have two groups, the one which will have chloroquine sensitive organisms and the other where there will be resistance to chloroquine, and we need to treat accordingly with other drugs where the chloroquine resistance is noted. So what are the symptoms of malaria in cases of uncomplicated malaria? Here we will have the patients complaining of fever, headache, vomiting and flu-like symptoms. So this fever and these symptoms are noted when there is erythrocytic stage of the parasite. In pre-erythrocytic stage, the of the parasite, the human beings will not show any symptoms. Whenever it invades the red blood cells and cause release of various myelocytes into the circulating stream of blood, the symptoms will be seen, that is fever, headache, vomiting and other symptoms. There will be easy fatigability because of the anemia, where anemia is because of the destruction of the large number of RBCs, and the symptoms of malaria can be confused with the other viral infections and enteric fever also. So in endemic areas we always need to keep in mind, whenever there is a patient of fever and other symptoms which are similar to those with malaria, always treat it like malaria. And pregnant women are less capable of coping with these malarial infections, which will affect the unborn fetus also. Now another one is the complicated malaria. So in complicated malaria we can see there is prostration, that is inability to sit, weakness will be there, then altered consciousness and lethargy in the patient. Patient may go into coma also. There will be breathing difficulties, severe anemia, then generalized convulsions whenever there will be cerebral malaria, and then inability to drink, there will be increased vomiting, dark limited production of urine when the kidneys will be affected. So what are the signs? There will be decrease in consciousness level and neurological signs, severe anemia where the hematocrit will be less than 15%, hypopyrexia, hyperparasitemia, that is increased number of the parasites into the bloodstream, that is more than 5%, then hypoglycemia, these parasites will utilize the glucose and the glucose levels will be less than 2.2 millimoles per liter. This will also lead to the unconsciousness in the patient. Then renal impairment where the kidneys are affected. We will see the black water fever in falciparum infection, oliguria also, and pulmonary edema, hypoxia, acidosis, which will lead to respiratory symptoms. There will be circulatory collapse also and shock. Hemostasis abnormalities will be noted because of hemolysis and disseminated intravascular coagulation in these complicated malaria. all the clinically suspected cases of the malaria, they should be investigated immediately, and there should be no delay in the investigation, and rapid and microscopic diagnostic tests should be utilized. What are the objectives of the treatment? Firstly, the basic thing is the complete cure of the disease. Second thing is the prevention of progression into the complication, that is to prevent the progression of the disease and prevent the complications. Next is the very important thing, that is the interruption of the transmission, which we have already seen that transmission from one infected human being to other normal individual through the mosquito. So this should be interrupted to limit the disease. Then minimization of the risk of selection and spread of drug resistant parasites. So this will be less responsible for failure of various treatments, and the drugs will be rendered ineffective. So this is the basic objectives of the treatment of malaria. Now moving towards the individual treatment of the infection. Firstly, we will see the treatment where the organism or the parasite is sensitive to chloroquine, that is the chloroquine sensitive malaria, and which is uncomplicated. So we need to achieve the clinical cure for the infections with vivax, ovale and malaria and the chloroquine sensitive falciparum organism. So here in this case, firstly the basic drug which we give is the chloroquine phosphate. Now we have already seen the mechanism of action of these different drugs. So this chloroquine is a drug which will act on the heme in the food vacuole of the parasite and will prevent the conversion of the heme to the hemozoin. So the heme will be toxic to the parasite. So the chloroquine is the drug which is given as a first line drug in the dose of 250 milligrams tablet containing 150 milligram of base, out of which 4 tablets are given immediately, that is a bolus dose. So you all already know the pharmacokinetic properties, that is the chloroquine has a large volume of distribution. So here we need to give a loading dose and followed by 2 tablets, that is 300 milligram of base, each after 6 hours, 24 hours and 48 hours. Now radical cure. So in radical cure there is eradication of both exoerythrocytic as well as the erythrocytic stage of the parasite. An adequate clinical cure of the falciparum can result in the radical cure, but a proper drug is needed for the radical cure of the vivax and ovale in order to prevent the very important factor, that is the relapse, which we have already seen, which occurs because of the hypnozoans. So to prevent the relapse in cases of vivax and ovale, we need to give a proper drug which will prevent the reactivation of the hypnozoites in the later stage. So the drug which is effective in this case is the primaquine. So primaquine is a drug given in a dose of 30 milligrams base. So it is started after acute attack, given for daily for 14 days, but try to avoid it in pregnancy and infants who are less than 1 year and in G6PD deficiency cases. For the first two categories, that is in pregnant females and infants less than 1 year, we can use chloroquine phosphate weekly as a suppressive chemoprophylaxis. And radical cure may not be helpful in endemic areas. Why? Because there are chances of reinfection. So the radical cure may not be obtained. And this primaquine is a drug which has its action against the gametocytes also and the hypnozoites also. So this is an important point of primaquine. So the radical cure will be achieved in cases of vivax and ovale. Another treatment is that of the chloroquine resistant falciparum infection, where the falciparum parasite will be resistant to the chloroquine. Now, in patients, those who are able to take the oral medications, in those cases we can use quinine in a dose of 600 milligrams thrice a day for 7 days. And for the optimal clinical response, we can add doxycycline in the dose of 100 milligrams given 3 times a day for 7 days. Or when there is toxicity to quinine, or in cases where quinine cannot be given, we can use pyrimethamine and sulfadoxine, where we have already seen in the previous lecture that the pyrimethamine and sulfadoxine combination is a supraadditive combination, where these two will cause the sequential blockade in the synthesis of folate in the parasite. So this is also a good combination which can be used in the cases of chloroquine resistant falciparum infection. And the third one is the artemether and lumefantrine combination, where the artemether is one of the artemisinin derivatives, and it undergoes substantial first pass metabolism. So it is converted to dihydro artemisinin, and this is combined with the lumefantrine, which is a orally active, high efficacy and long acting drug. So this combination is given as a 4 tablets twice daily on the first day, then followed by 2 tablets for next 2 days, that is a 3 days course. And this lumefantrine is a 99% plasma protein bound with a long half life of near about 2 to 3 days. So it will be helpful for curing the infection. Other drugs which we can give is the mefloquine 750 milligrams orally, which is followed by 500 milligrams after 12 hours. Or we can give artesunate 2.4 milligrams per kg 4 doses for 3 days, and then followed by oral treatment whenever the patient is able to take the drugs orally with atovaquone combined with proguanil or doxycycline or mefloquine. Another FDC is the atovaquone plus proguanil, where we give the 4 tablets once daily for 3 days with fatty meals. Here the fatty meals will increase the absorption of the drug. Now, the important regimen nowadays which is very effective in the treatment of malarial cases is the artemisinin based combination therapy. So this combination therapy is being recommended by WHO in treatment of uncomplicated falciparum resistant malaria, which is to be treated with artemisinin plus any of the erythrocytic isontocyte, where there are different erythrocytic isontocytes which are the fast or slow acting, like chloroquine, quinine, mefloquine or lumefantrine, and some of, or we can also use the slow acting erythrocytic isontocytes like pyrimethamine sulfadoxine combination of proguanil or doxycycline. So artemisinin plus any of the erythrocytic isontocyte can be combined to treat the uncomplicated resistant falciparum infection. Now here you should keep in mind is that artemisinin are the drugs with shorter half-life. So the combination of the artemisinin with the other drug should be like that. As it has a short half-life, the other drug should be the one which will have a longer half-life. So this will prevent the emergence of the resistance to the combination. So now this artemisinin has a short half-life, but it kills about near about 95% of the plasmodial parasite, and hence after killing the 95% of the parasite, small amount are to be eliminated with the one which we combine, that is the other drug with long half-life. Hence this will decrease the chance of selection of the resistant mutants. So these combination therapies will have drugs with artemisinin derivative and other drug with a longer half-life. What are the advantages of artemisinin based combination therapy? Firstly, it will have a rapid clinical and parasitological cure. That is, it will clear out the parasites, and it will also have a high cure rate and low recrudescence rate. Now we have seen that relapse and recrudescence are the two terms which we have seen with the Vivax and falciparum infection. So what is recrudescence? Again I will tell you, recrudescence is a condition where the cystosomes and merozoites from the asexual erythrocytic phase are not eradicated completely because of inadequate drug therapy. Then the malarial fever will subside for some time, that is temporary, but may reappear again when the surviving parasite, that is surviving merozoites in the blood, enter the erythrocytic phase. That is, the merozoites will start again infecting the RBCs, different RBCs, and start multiplying. Then the fever may reappear again, and this is termed as the recrudescence. So the second advantage of ACT is the high cure rate and the low recrudescence rate. Third thing is the absence of parasitic resistance. Till now we have not noted any case of the artemisinin combination therapy resistance. And the next is the good tolerability profile. That is, this class therapy, that is regimens, have given less toxicity and less number of the adverse effects. So these are the advantages of the regimen, that is the artemisinin based combination therapy. So what is ACT regimens are the ones which are the oral therapy and are not to be used in the severe or complicated cases of malaria, for which we can use the parenteral drugs and other drugs which are effective in the severe and complicated malaria. Now the first one is the artemisinin based combination therapy, where there are two regimens of 7 days course and 3 days course. So we have artemisinin, any of the artemisinin derivatives like artemether, artethur or artesunate combined with tetracycline or clindamycin. And the other 3-day course is a artemisinin derivative plus amodiaquine or mefloquine or the sulfadoxine and pyrimethamine combination. So these are the two regimens with 7-day and 3-day course. What are the regimens, that is ACT regimens used in India at present? That is, we use artesunate plus mefloquine combination. That is, artesunate is the drug of artemisinin derivative which can be given by all the three routes, that is intravenous, oral and intramuscular, and it is combined with mefloquine. This was the most extensively used regimen in Thailand, Myanmar and other Southeast Asian countries, and it was found highly effective in the uncomplicated cases of the falciparum infection. Now the adverse effects of artesunate and mefloquine are less favorable than the other artemisinin based combination therapies. So other regimens are also popular in India than this regimen. So we have other regimens like artemether with lumefantrine in a ratio of 1:6. So artemether is a drug which is given intramuscularly, and lumefantrine, it is a drug which has a longer half-life of near about 2 to 3 days, and it is a drug with high efficacy and longer duration of action, and has a erythrocytic cyanotoxidal action. It is only used in combination with artemether as an FDC, because these two components prevent the emergence of plasmodial resistance to each other. Okay, so the next regimen is the artesunate plus sulfadoxine and pyrimethamine combination, which is a supraadditive synergistic combination which is to be combined with artesunate, one of the artemisinin derivative. Now the ACTs used in India are as follows: artesunate 4 milligrams per kg twice a day for 3 days, and with sulfadoxine 25 milligrams per kg plus pyrimethamine 1.25 milligram per kg, single dose. Now this artesunate is a drug which will be converted to dihydroartemisinin and has a half-life of 1 to 2 hours. And the combination, that is pyrimethamine sulfadoxine combination, is a longer acting one, and thus it will be helpful regimen. Other regimen which is used in India is a combination of mefloquine in dose of 15 milligrams per kg, or mefloquine on day 2 and mefloquine 10 milligrams per kg on day 3, or the other regimen is the one, that is the artemether 80 milligrams plus lumefantrine 480 milligrams twice a day for 3 days. Now the another treatment is the treatment of the severe and the complicated cases of malaria. Now in these severe and complicated cases of malaria, the primary objective is to prevent the death of the patient, and the secondary one is the prevention of recrudescence and avoidance of minor side effects or the adverse effects. So these objectives are kept in mind whenever we start a treatment in cases of severe and complicated cases. Firstly, in severe malaria we need to hospitalize the patient, and all the cases should be presumed to have the falciparum infection unless it is confirmed laboratorically. Next thing is to treat with the injectable antimalarials like quinine, chloroquine or artemisinin derivatives. Amongst that we have the artesunate, which is given intravenously. Better to use is the 2-side antisodal drugs, that is use 2-side antisodal drugs and do not add mefloquine or halofantrine, as there is evidence of cross resistance with the mefloquine and halofantrine. Now treatment of severe malaria. What are the different types of regimens which we use here? One is the artesunate regimen, artesunate, which is given in the dose of 2.4 milligrams per kg of body weight, either intravenously or intramuscularly at 12 and 24 hours, and then once a day for the upcoming 7 days. Now in between you can switch over to the oral artemisinin based combination therapies whenever possible, that is whenever the patient is able to take the drugs orally, or we can use artemether 3.2 milligrams per kg intramuscularly on day 1, which is to be followed by 1.6 milligrams of dose per kg for the next 7 days. Or we can also use artether 3.2 milligrams per kg intramuscularly on day 1 and then followed by 1.6 milligrams per kg for the other 4 days. If another regimen is also available, that is the quinine one. Quinine we can use as a quinine hydrochloride 20 milligrams per kg diluted in 5% dextrose. In previous lecture I have told that one of the side effects of the quinine is it causes hypoglycemia because of the immediate release of the fast release of the insulin from the pancreas. So to avoid the hypoglycemia, quinine related hypoglycemia, we dilute it in 5% dextrose and it is infused intravenously over 4 hours, which is to be followed by 10 milligrams per kg intravenous infusion for 4 hours and then repeat every 8 hours. After that we can switch over to oral quinine whenever possible. The another important topic is the treatment of malaria in pregnancy. Here we have infection in pregnancy is a difficult one to clear, because this will cause the complications in the that is the pregnant female, and even in the unborn fetus. So the treatment, that is of the either of the infection in the pregnancy, or any of the parasitic infection in the pregnancy, we need to treat it promptly and aggressively. So in first trimester, we can give quinine and clindamycin combination for 7 days, and use the ACT only when the other drugs are ineffective, because the safety of the ACT, that is artemisinin combination therapy, during the first trimester is unproven. So keep it as a reserve one. Now the second and third trimesters. So in these we can use artesunate plus clindamycin for 7 days, or quinine plus clindamycin for 7 days. Okay. The quinine regimen, quinine plus clindamycin regimen, is the one which is safe during all the trimester, but a more safer option for the first trimester. Moving to the other important topic, that is the prophylaxis, chemoprophylaxis. So to prevent the infection in cases or the in person who are either traveling to the endemic area, or who need to stay for a shorter duration in a endemic area. So we have different prophylaxis, that is the causal prophylaxis and the suppressive prophylaxis. So in causal prophylaxis, there is the pre-erythrocytic phase, which is the cause of malarial infection and the clinical attack. So these are the two factors which are the target of causal prophylaxis. And in suppressive prophylaxis, the schizontocides which suppress the erythrocytic phase and thus prevent the attack of malarial fever. These are the principles of suppressive prophylaxis. So where do we use these prophylaxis, that is causal and suppressive prophylaxis? In non-immune travelers, secondly in non-immune residents who are shifting to endemic area for a fixed period, and third one is the pregnancy. First one is the suppressive prophylaxis for the travelers who are entering the endemic area and those who are chloroquine sensitive. So the chloroquine sensitive areas, we can give the chloroquine phosphate 300 milligrams of the base per orally for 2 weeks before travel, and then take weekly during the stay, and continue it for the 4 weeks after leaving the endemic area. Next is the prophylaxis for travelers who enter the endemic area, that is the chloroquine resistant area. Here we can use mefloquine 250 milligrams weekly, starting 1 to 2 weeks before entering the area. Take it weekly on the day of entering area, and then continue it for 4 weeks after leaving the area. So the incubation period of the parasite is near about up to 14 days, so 0 to 14 days. So this is the duration which is to be kept in mind whenever give the prophylaxis. Another one is the doxycycline, that is 100 milligrams daily. So start it 1 to 2 days before entering the area, then take it daily at the same time while in the endemic area, and then 4 weeks after leaving the endemic area. But it is contraindicated in children who are less than 8 years of age and in the pregnant females. Another regimen for prophylaxis is the atovaquone plus proguanil, given in 250 milligrams and 100 milligrams respectively, which is starting 1 to 2 weeks before entering the area, then take it daily at the same time while in the area, and then continue it for the 7 days after leaving the endemic area. Here one thing you keep in mind that all the regimens which we use for prophylaxis, combine it with primaquine in a dose of 30 milligrams per orally daily, that is once a day for 7 days after departure from the malarious area, that is endemic area. Why? This primaquine is active against the gametocytes and hypnozoites, so it will give us a complete cure and the complete clearance of the parasite. So try to add the primaquine to all the regimens, and it will also prevent the spread also. Now coming to an end of the lecture, you always keep in mind that diagnosis of malaria must be considered in the patients with fever and who are returning from the endemic area. And to start a treatment, never wait for the definitive parasitological diagnosis. Start the treatment immediately when you note a case of fever with other symptoms which resemble that of the malarial infection. So here the basic thing which we have learned is the prevention is better than cure. So always take the preventive measures to avoid the infection, like we can use the mosquito nets or the mosquito repellents. We can do the fumigations of the areas where we have more number of mosquitoes, then avoid the accumulation of the water in different unused thrown out bottles and other things. And so thus these preventive measures will prevent the spread of the infection, and also it will also decrease the number of the cases also. So thank you. This was the end of the topic of the anti-malarial drugs in 2 parts. Hope you understood the topic. Thank you.